Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Carlos D. I'm an artist from Los Angeles, California. In this video, you're going to see me at the drawing table creating some art. The video is not intended to be instructional, but informative and entertaining. If you learn something from the video, then that's awesome. Joining me today, once again, is Cynthia. Cynthia, thank you for taking the time to hang out.
Hi, how's it going, Carlos? Glad to be back.
Awesome.
Excited for this project.
Yeah, cool. So if you have any questions at all about the artwork, feel free. But what about yourself? Anything new?
Yeah, I've been trying to blend like what I'm working on with the human figure with the abstract, and so I have a reel ready to launch probably later tonight. So
Awesome.
excited
Awesome.
about that.
Any particular medium?
I'm mostly going back to like the sumi ink and acrylics, like watercolor, just kind of trying to let go a little bit while I'm doing it. I'm not trying to get like detailed, just kind of let it happen.
On watercolor paper?
On a canvas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How does watercolor, how does the canvas absorb the watercolor?
So when it's primed, you can kind of get a few more layers on there. It works. It just kind of just pulls up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you just gotta be patient and let it sit.
And while you're working with the watercolor, are you laying the artwork flat?
Sometimes it depends on what effects I want to create. So right now with that one, I was trying just to get back into drips. So a lot of it is doing this downward kind of motion, and then I did lay it down for a bit and let it pull up to create kind of like the background.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there's pooling, so you'll see it when I post it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I love the effect of watercolor, that pooling.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks good. I mean, of course, I'm sure others have seen it as coffee stains or a soda stain or juice or whatever, but that effect looks really cool.
Yeah, it does. It's just really nice to see it like just kind of do its own thing.
Yeah.
You kind of, some people get scared because they're losing control of the medium, but at the same time, if you understand like that's just what's gonna do.
Yeah.
It's like life, you just let it go.
Sure thing. That's if that's a part of the process. That's awesome.
And then you add the salt.
And that it
crystallizes almost like crystal.
And do you leave the salt on there or do you shake it off?
I leave it on there.
Okay.
I think it looks kind of cool
because it makes a little like rocky.
Yeah, it gives it like
right?
texture. Yeah,
that's cool.
It's always fun. I love throwing salt on the paintings. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like cooking.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That reminds me of I watch Japanese sumo.
Okay.
And if anyone's familiar, their ritual while they're preparing for their match, they throw salt, and it's awesome because it's all symbolic. I mean, from everything from what they're wearing to the top knot to the what's called the dohyo, not dojo but dohyo with a H. It's a circle, but it has like four corners. And they symbolize the seasons. It's so cool. Like, I love the Japanese culture, and I'm like, I love anything that's symbolized like a representation of nature.
Yeah.
And although I'm not a spiritual person at all, but the reason for them throwing the salt onto the dohyo so that they step on is to like get rid of like the bad vibes.
Yeah, like the purification stuff.
Yes.
Like people out here, I know some people who have put salt on their windowsills and stuff like that to keep away the evil.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's like weird. It gets into this whole different territory, but salt is super. It's one of those things that just crosses culturally, and it always means purification. As far as I know. If I'm wrong, cool. Someone drop it down in the comments.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Interesting that we're kind of on this topic. The video that's gonna air out tomorrow, which by the time this comes out should already be out, is a conversation with my friend Jaime. And so I sent him on YouTube. There's a 6-part series of an interview of Joseph Campbell. Are you familiar with Joseph Campbell?
I think so, yeah.
So he was he's known for the book The Hero of a Thousand Faces, and it basically outlines the hero's journey, and it's great for writing, like if you're a storyteller.
Ooh.
because Joseph Campbell, he was a professor. I can't recall what university, but top notch. And after the Hero of a Thousand Faces, he called his book that because of his research. What he was doing is researching like cultural stories, mythologies.
Mm-hmm.
And he found, like you mentioned, with the salt being kind of tied with multicultural mythologies, and it's always the same thing. It's always, in this case, to prevent evil spirits to to kind of come into the
like protection.
Yes. Well, he was noticing a bunch of reoccurring themes, which is a similar thing to what Carl Jung kind of discovered, that throughout the world, multicultural overlap of similar motifs, serpents, jaguars, big cats, things like that. But they were, for some reason, they're always meaning the same thing. Like, as far as the serpent goes, the serpent is the symbol of renewal, because it sheds its skin. And across multiple cultures, they all picked up on that, and they all use that symbolically. Like that is an incredible creature that is able to do that. And I think like certain people can reflect on, like, what if I could just do that, right?
Yeah.
It is a big advantage if you can do it psychologically, right? Of course, you're not going to shed your skin unless you get a nice little sunburn.
Oh, right. That's definitely the quickest way to do it.
But psychologically, to be able to shed that old you, and it kind of ties into, remember what we were talking about last time we hung out, was my thing about the outer shell.
Yeah.
Right. So similarly, again, I'm doing it for the symbolism, because of the ability that we have this ability. Not everyone does it, but if one could, life really, like, becomes something more amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that whole like the meaning of things having that subconscious connection like cross-culturally throughout the world. I think there's a theory of like a subconscious network. I forgot who spoke about that.
It's Carl Jung.
Yeah,
it's called
it would be his theory then, right?
The collective unconscious.
Okay,
yes,
I remember reading something about that.
Okay.
So I always thought that was pretty interesting, because I was looking at like apocalyptic kind of like stories across the board, and like, why is it that every culture has their own like end of the world story and stuff like that? Like, that's where I kind of heard some of Carl Jung then.
On that note, apocalyptic stuff. Are you familiar with Graham Hancock?
I don't think so.
On Netflix, he has a new series called Ancient Apocalypse. So he's, throughout his career, I believe the gentleman's probably like in his 70s now, but throughout most of his career as a journalist, he started to investigate like ancient cultures, right? And another mythology across multiple cultures. There was a great flood or a great catastrophe.
I just saw one about that recently too. So there was like a theory about like how the polar ice caps shift every couple millennia or something like that, and how like some people were very scared towards the beginning of the 2000s.
Well, they recently shifted.
They do shift slightly, and so they say that like there's like if it shifts like dramatically, like this one guy, he like was friends with like Albert Einstein or something.
Okay.
This is back then. This is like a theory. He's just like, well, if they shift dramatically, would it shift enough where you could like basically like destroy entire cities, and like they're just buried underground? And it starts talking about like the those giant sculptures in Easter Island and all that stuff, and how like what if that was that? And it's really weird. I guess they were like, it's from a book that was supposedly declassified by the FBI. I don't know. Okay. It was a theorist video on YouTube, so cool. It's probably not the most reliable.
No,
but it was interesting thought food, Just
I was
had
gonna
it
say,
playing in the background. It was just like, oh.
Yeah, if you find it interesting, no harm.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? I was
Who
just
knows,
like,
right?
this is a weird topic. Let's just let it
Personally,
play.
I do find it interesting.
Yeah.
I like it. Every time
Yeah.
Graham Hancock has been on the Joe Rogan podcast, I've watched those interviews and those conversations because I find it fascinating. For me, there's no value in whether or not anything from the past is real. I really don't care. I'm here. I don't know why, but I'm gonna enjoy this thing. It's amazing.
Yeah, we gotta just enjoy the present.
We're here. Like I say this facetiously all the time to friends. I'm like, we could have been cockroaches.
Yeah.
But we were at the top of the food chain. We really are. We're at the top of the food chain. And how, why, I really don't care. I'm here and I'm gonna enjoy it because this is awesome. This is so awesome. And not only that, but I've had this conversation with my brother, and I told him, I'm like, personally, me growing up in the 80s, 90s, I feel like my generation is the coolest generation.
You guys had the best music.
Exactly.
Not even gonna
Thank
lie.
you.
Yeah, I grew up in the 2000s, and like I have a slight memory of the 90s. But it's like you guys had the best music.
Thank you for saying that.
Straight up, it's not even a question.
And at that time, it was not just that. My childhood, all the cartoons were awesome.
It was a lot more laid back.
There was something about that era where technology wasn't where it's at now, but it was more advanced than it had been previously. I feel like that was the sweet spot. The 80s, 90s was the sweet spot of all the things that have happened thus far.
It was like that moment of like possibility.
And it wasn't oversaturated.
Yeah.
With too much technology.
That's where we're at today.
I would agree with that statement. I think that there's great value in. Personally, I love road trips. Like when you mentioned you might be going on a road trip or whatever, I'm like, man, I hope she goes because even a 3-hour drive for me is just awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely nice, but you gotta take your time with it. Like I was gonna go for like a day, and I was like, nah, I'm just gonna wait for that day where I have that. Like that week where I have that whole week
a longer stretch.
Yeah, because I don't like rushing. If I'm gonna go on a road trip, like I'd rather take my time to get there, take my time there, and take my time coming back.
Good for you.
Yeah,
that is a fantastic state of mind because I was the same. Have you ever been to Sequoia?
Yeah.
I love Sequoia. So the first time I went there was a weekend trip, right? And I thought to myself, this isn't enough.
It's not.
Because I felt like it was a 3-day thing. It might have been 4 days. But I felt like as soon as we got there, the clock is ticking already. And I'm like, no, this isn't cool. It doesn't feel cool. Like I don't want to feel rushed. So the next time, now I leave for a week. Just this past summer, I went to Lake Arrowhead for the first time. I'd never gone there.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I just went out there by myself. I got an Airbnb little cabin just to myself. It's gorgeous out there. And I was just walking up and down the streets by myself, being quiet. It was a retreat for me. I like going on these solo retreats where I'm just alone and I speak no words to other humans. I really enjoy that. Have you ever gone one day without speaking a word that you can recall?
I'm thinking. I mean, maybe like when I lived on my own and the pandemic started.
Okay.
Maybe there was a few days there that you would just talk like through text.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I would work like the next day and I'm like, oh, I would speak something all of a sudden. And I'm like, oh, I hadn't said anything and I don't know how long.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, but it's like one of those. I was still talking to people though on the phone.
Oh, yeah, sure. Communicating still some way.
Yeah, I wasn't like super like, I wasn't in that meditative like state of mind. I feel like that must be something very special.
For me, everyone's different, right? Everybody experiences life differently. I really enjoy silence. When I first got to Florence in January of 2019, there was an incredible dead black silent I've never been in a sensory deprivation tank, but I presume it was like that because there's no AC, there's no air conditioning, there's no heating, there's no nothing. And the street, at least where I was staying at for the first 9 months, it was an incredible quietness. I mean, I can't explain it. It felt like what the color pitch black would sound like.
I get that.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really cool.
It was, I was so like, I don't hear anything.
And it's a city, and everyone's just quiet. Or
yeah. It's a city that during the day it's tourism, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, but at nighttime, and I was also kind of like facing inboard on the way that the building was structured, right? I was facing like inboard. There was just like a little gap, so that I would have a window. I suppose that's how the building was made, because I wasn't facing the street or anything.
Okay.
And so that I perhaps even blocked out more sound, but it was just a gorgeous silence.
I mean, that must have been nice.
It was amazing, except when the mosquitoes came around.
Oh no, the mosquitoes! Oh, that's the worst.
But aside from that, when it was cold in the cold season, it was, and I just couldn't believe it that I couldn't hear anything. No air conditioning, no creaks, nobody walking around, nothing.
No animals. Or anything?
Nothing.
That's so
no
weird.
Birds, no nothing.
That's really strange. Not even birds. Like,
it's an amazing silence.
Wow.
It was there, and I really love that. Because it's hard to get that.
I was just gonna say it really
right?
is.
Where can you go unless you have a sensory deprivation tank where you can shut everything down?
No, it's definitely tricky. Like, so I've been experiencing some like a lot of like hearing, kind of like super sensible hearing lately. Because I told you I had that accident like a while ago, and sometimes it flares up. And so the other day I was at work and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna leave and go walk around outside. And maybe like take off the earplugs and maybe I can just hear what's outside. They had music playing. I was like, why is there music playing on the boulevard? Like, come on. I get it. You want to like tourism and all that. But, but there's also like, I mean, I want silence too. I want to hear like maybe just the birds, you know, like it wasn't such a busy day. I was like, it would have been nice to just hear like nature itself.
Yeah.
But there really wasn't that. I had to go into my car and I could still hear some of the music.
Yes.
It was a little upsetting. I was like, wow, like we really live in the world now where people don't want to sit in silence, and that might be something dangerous. I feel like silence allows you to grow mindfulness.
I would agree.
And so without silence,
very well said.
It's one of those things where we're just always distracted.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
For myself, I have a high level of awareness. So, although the world is happening around me, I pretend to be oblivious. Like to the outside looking in, I pretend to be oblivious, but I'm completely aware of my surroundings at all times. It's just natural for me. But I'm also aware that if there's a scuffle over there, if there's an argument over there, if anything's going over there, that's none of my business, unless it's life-threatening. Then, because of my awareness, I'll step in and do something, to help. But other than that, I mind my own business, and that's not distracting me from me thinking about my next artwork in my mind while whatever is happening is happening. I'm not gonna make it my business unless it's a life and death situation. Other than that,
that's fine. That's completely understandable, and I feel that's very like European, like that kind of mindset. I don't know. I just remember when I was in France, that was what I noticed with the general atmosphere of like the people that live there. No one would really get into each other's business, just you're doing your own thing. And then here in America, there is this very like, I don't know, there is kind of this idea of like you have to maybe like get involved or something, or like this kind of nosiness, or there's, I don't know, it's just something I noticed back then that you reminded me of right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. And it's probably the culture, right? Their culture versus our culture.
And our culture is just loud.
And they're like, I mean, to say nosy is...
I think that's the wrong word. I think I was looking for the word loud.
Well, I think that it's a good thing to be aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
Somebody might perceive that as being nosy. Hey, but if it's a situation where either you can help or you should help because of public safety.
That's true.
Then that nosiness, in one moment, someone could be the nosy person. In 2 seconds, that person could be a hero.
That's very true.
You know, so but I think it is this culture of we here in America. It feels like we're more looky-loos.
Yeah,
we're more looky-loos than
like
Europe. I would agree.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Yeah.
And that's, for me, I see everything as a positive. Mm-hmm. It's good because you never know. Even in situations like myself, having been a former police officer, it's good for the community to get involved, to film, to have their cell phones out. I never had an issue with it. At times it was annoying. Absolutely, it was annoying because there's a difference between somebody filming something that they may feel like, just in case something goes sideways, at least I'll have it from this point of view.
Yeah.
And it's another thing, someone picking at a police officer and instigating and trying to get them to bite to some drama,
different.
you know.
Yeah, I get that. It's always good to have documentation and, you know, be aware. That's very good too. I see what you're coming from. Yeah, I have friends who work in that area of law enforcement, and like I worked security, so I know where you're coming from, and like, yeah, being aware is good. But I understand also you're saying like you're aware and you're like within yourself as well. Yes. But you're ready to help out if anything happens, you know. And that state of consciousness takes practice. Yeah. It took practice for me. For me to have an awareness of, if I need to, I will, but at the moment I'm not. Mm-hmm. And I'm still thinking about making progress in my artistic adventure, in my artistic journey. And even maybe what you hear someone saying could influence what you're going to create. So true. Sometimes you just catch the glimpse of a conversation, a little snippet of something out of context, and you're like, oh, I wonder what that is. Spark an idea. Yeah, you never know. Absolutely. So, situational awareness. Yes. And meditation. Yes. Do you meditate? A little bit. I'm trying to get back into it to help with what I've been experiencing with the sensory overload lately. And I mean, it's been helpful. I like it. You just give yourself a moment. You cocoon in the dark, or you just find a spot and you just let your thoughts just kind of go. I don't know, it's good. I remember the first time I tried it in college, it was like my brain was just too on. Mm-hmm. So you're just thinking like everything is just pouncing all over your head. But then once you get past that part, it takes a couple times. You have to get used to it. It's just very easy to just let go and slip into just existing. Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. That's my experience, at least. Good. How about you with meditation? I first started getting into meditation in like 2016, early 2016. Just out of curiosity. I had never done it before. Mm-hmm. And at that time, that year was a big year of reflection for me. It's what eventually started to turn the gears in my head to think about where my future is going to be. Am I enjoying life in the moment? Can I enjoy it more? You know, is this it? Am I going to ride this out as a career? So that year was a big deal. And a part of that was exploring meditation. And personally, I was also in the Marine Corps, and I've always been very disciplined. And the Marine Corps just instilled even more discipline in me. So whenever I do something, I'm like usually 100% on doing it, especially if I find it interesting. And just like my art, I'm 100%. I left a career completely to jump into, I'm telling you, I'm 100% in everything I do. It's good. It's a very good mindset, and it's something that, you know, we could all learn from. Cool. Yeah. So with meditation, I was the same thing. I'm like, I'm not just gonna dabble. I'm gonna do this for a month straight, an hour every night. I'm gonna sit down, try a generic modified Lotus because I wasn't that flexible. But every night for a month, that's how I started. Okay, I'm gonna sit down. Well, what am I gonna think about? You know, I checked out a couple videos on how-tos and what the best ways. How to start letting go a little bit. Yeah. So I found for me what worked the best to get me into a zone where the flow of thoughts are very limited. I started to tell myself, I'm gonna relax every part of my body
one by one. So and I still do this to the day. And I would say once I get down to relaxing my toes, I'm in the zone, and that's
Okay.
about like a 2-minute process.
Yeah.
So what I do, I just close my eyes, and even sitting down, I don't have to be in a modified lotus. I could just be sitting down or laying down, uh, just flat on my back. I'll say, okay, take a deep breath, take a deep breath, take a deep breath, and then I'll start relax the top of my head, relax my forehead, relax my eyebrows,
Do you like
relax
feel
my
like
eyes.
the wave of energy just coming down from your head?
Uh, at times I used to. I think now I'm more like in the thought process that once I'm done with this process, I'm in the zone.
It's like the ritual.
Yeah, it's a
It's
ritual
the
basically.
entrance
That's it.
ritual.
Yes, yes.
Opening the door to.
Yes,
That's cool.
to silence basically, silencing my mind. So
Mhm.
I go my forehead, my eyebrows,
Mhm.
my eyes, my cheeks, my nose, my mouth, my lips, my tongue, my chin, my jaw, my ears, my neck, my pecs, my serratus, my obliques, my abs, my deltoids, my triceps, my biceps, my forearms, my wrists, my hands, my fingers, my traps, my rhomboids, my scapula, my teres, and all this comes from studying anatomy too of art.
I'm hearing you like saying them. I'm like, oh, I know where these are.
So my teres minor, my teres major,
Yeah.
my lats, the spinal muscles, gluteus minimus, gluteus maximus, my hamstrings, my quads, my knees, my calves, my ankles, my feet, my toes, in that order.
Yeah.
I've been doing this since 2016.
Whoa.
That's why I know it's so fast now.
Yeah.
And by the time I get down, and I'm going really slow when I just wanted to spit that out here,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going really slow. So I just start from the top. Okay. Usually after a breath, like in breath, out breath, I relax something else. In breath, out breath, relax my cheeks. In breath, out breath, relax my nose. And I go through that process. And by doing that, I'm not really controlling my breath, but my breath is going at the pace of my speech. And by doing that, I am controlling the breath. So my lungs are being relaxed and everything. Once I'm done, I just tell myself, okay, my body's completely relaxed. And usually around that time is when I do feel like gravity is grabbing my body,
Mm-hmm.
like firmly. And then I either begin, if I want to experience something specific. This is for all the law of attraction people out there. If I in that moment, once I get there to that zone, in that moment, if I want to experience something, that's when I start imagining
Okay.
that experience. Let's say I want to experience a banana split.
Ooh.
Now, I'm going to be really specific about what I want to experience. So I would tell myself, okay, I'm sitting down at a table and I can feel my butt making contact with the bench. Okay, the bench is solid. I feel, even before I get
to the banana
to the banana split,
you're like visualizing.
I'm creating the physics.
The place, the time.
Exactly.
Location.
Yes. I can feel the atmosphere. It's a little chilly because I know I'm in a place that serves ice cream. Now I'm sitting down. I see the ice cream sundae in front of me. What does it look? And I'll start to describe everything, whatever specific thing I want to experience. I'll start to describe it to myself in my imagination, and a thought will come in, and it'll scatter the whole process. Okay, back to zero. Go back to zero. I do that over and over because the mind does that right by itself. Just keeps on chucking in dumb ideas.
It's called, I think when I learned some of this, we called it monkey brain.
It is. It's the monkey mind.
It's the monkey mind.
Yes. Yeah. So that in this process that I go through, I keep that in mind. That dude is gonna pop up and he's gonna start rambling stuff.
He's gonna start banging his little.
I have to recover.
Stuff,
yes, I have to recover. So I'm mindful of it. There are times when I get just a clean visualization experience where I'm just like, oh, in a way I'm like, I'm there, you know. I'm aware that I'm imagining it, but I'm there, like, I'm totally there and nothing is distracting me. Those are awesome. um in in some meditating experience, so I did that. I began, I think, maybe like April or May of 2016, and ever since I just ran with it. I mean, every night, every
one
night.
hour.
Yes, 1 hour.
That's really good.
1 hour.
I was gonna ask you if you ever tried doing any prompts, but it sounds like you kind of do. Like you create.
I
the
did. I ended up
experiences.
creating my own, basically.
Yeah.
What worked for me. So that's, I would suggest, not everything is gonna work for everyone, you know.
Yeah, like I feel like it's something people should try to do, even if you've never done it before. Or you're like worried, or you're like, oh, I've tried it, but my brain goes to that monkey brain setting like all the time. Just stick to it. Like, it's very important in your artistic development and your own development as a person.
It's valuable, extremely valuable. It it I think in those moments are really special moments of reflection that lead you to some realizations that the things that I experienced this day or yesterday or this week or whatever that seemed horrible and terrible, like, man, it really wasn't that bad.
We've got our neighborhood
Yeah,
patrols.
oh yeah, there we go. The heroes are on their way to save the day. So that's the fire department, everybody.
Yeah, they're driven by
LA's finest firefighters.
Shout out.
So, yes, thank you for your service.
Mm-hmm.
But so I reached the point of my meditative process where I felt like I'm gonna kick this up a notch. I started reading about like the chakra system, right? And I found that intriguing. Like, okay, cool. Well, I can get myself to a point where I'm just like zoned out, where if I was sitting in a modified lotus posture, like every 15 minutes or so, I would be like completely leaned over, and I have to like snap out of like I dozed off.
You literally like just like, okay.
I slunched over.
Whoa.
And it's crazy. Sometimes I used to I that hasn't happened to me maybe in a year, but yeah, I would like literally just be completely hunched over, and like 15 minutes will go by. So I think, because my eyes are closed this whole time, right? But I would snap out of it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm like completely hunched. So I would straighten my back out completely, and I would have those moments though. I would just, within the hour, like every 15 minutes or so, I would just knock out, basically.
I mean, that's not bad though. It just means
absolutely
you
not.
just achieved that perfect state of relaxation.
Absolutely.
Your body's like, all right, let's just go with it.
Just shut down completely.
Yeah.
In a sitting position. That's what's kind of fascinating, that it's in a sitting position where I'm a really light sleeper. Any little thing will wake me up. If a fly sneezes, it'll wake me up. So I just found that really interesting, and then I started to try to see about this chakra thing. Like, what is this all about? You know, is there anything to this?
Did it help with the slouching over?
No.
Oh.
So the chakra thing, and I could do it to this day. I don't know if it's a chakra thing, but if I focus attention to a specific place in my body, I can feel warmth building up there. That's whether if it's my abdomen, my chest, the top of my head, exactly as it's explained in like the yogic practice. I'm really curious if I were to be examined like by a medical examination,
or like stuck into an MRI machine while this happens.
to see if I'm really doing it or if I'm just crazy. Probably a little bit of both, but
that's probably.
But I could do that.
That's
so
really cool.
So when I started meditating and incorporating that, okay, because I suppose one of the teachings of the yoga system is you start at the root chakra, the very low one, and you focus your awareness there, you focus attention to it, you relax it, and you give that energy, right, in quotation marks, you give that energy, and then you move up, okay, to the second one, third one, fourth one, and so on and so. And as I was doing that, I feel, and I could still do it again. I'm still real a, able to do that meditation. It feels like a lava lamp.
Oh, that's cool.
Where energy is just flowing. Even if I try to jump from like the second chakra to like the forehead, I feel it traveling like a lava lamp, up one, up one, up one.
That's very interesting. Like,
I wonder if it's because that's in my mind, that all those chakras are there, that it's doing like subconsciously it's just doing that.
You're visualizing it, so your brain is like.
I think that might have something to do with it. I don't know.
It might, but at the same time, it could just be an actual like energy thing. Yeah.
Perhaps.
Because like we're all made out of energy, isn't that what like is absolutely known about every cell in the body? Like there's energy.
There's electricity running through us for sure.
Exactly. We're what is it? We're conductive.
Yes. Yeah.
So be careful, everybody.
Yeah, charge your batteries. And meditation is a way to charge your battery.
Yeah. And you do feel like charged afterwards, even if you give it like an hour or 30 minutes.
Even if that charge is a relaxation, a sensation of relaxation, in a way, you're really kind of taking a nap from
like
the exterior.
A mental nap. Even
Absolutely.
if you're still awake, like your mind just decompresses.
Yes, I agree.
And that's what I've been seeing lately since I've been trying to help with what I've been experiencing. And I've noticed like, oh yeah, if I start doing this again, and I'm like, oh, it is kind of helping my brain just like let go and I can start my batteries up again.
I can only see benefits from even just being quiet. I would challenge anyone, try to think of nothing. It's hard. It is so extremely hard.
That monkey brain is going to be in there. It's going to be clapping some loud cymbals. Yep. It's going to throw random things at you. But if you just get past that part. With practice,
you'll get to that sweet spot faster.
Yeah.
And let's say if you're just doing a 10-minute meditation and you're just starting, maybe in a week you get a good minute.
Yeah.
Like, oh man,
a good minute of like nothing.
A good minute of nothingness.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Keep practicing
Mm-hmm.
because you'll develop that muscle that gets you there faster. And then one day, a couple months down the line, you'll have those. Maybe it gets you a minute and a half to 2 minutes to get there, and then you just enjoy the rest of the ride.
Yeah.
Just shut down, be quiet, and then recharge yourself.
It's really helpful, like, and it will help out. Like, it's one of those things that maybe we don't think about with our busy lives. But if you just give yourself, it's like a special moment, a special time for yourself, for your soul or your mind to just like decompress. And decompressing is so important, I think. Like,
I would agree.
Like, I hadn't realized how important it was until I started having some of these issues I'm having right
Mm-hmm.
now. And I'm like, whoa, like, no, I need to set aside more time to decompress, because if I don't, I'm not going to be able to make my art. I'm not going to be able to even like think or like drive or like go to work. I have to decompress. And so it's weird. I'm like learning to slow down, but I feel like it's important that we should all try to slow down. Like, why are you spending all this time on TikTok? Like, come out of the phone, experience life, meditate, be with yourself. It's so important to learn to be with yourself.
If it's safe, go for a walk.
Yeah, that's
if it's
very
safe,
important.
If you live in a safe area and you're comfortable,
stay aware.
Yeah, have awareness.
Yeah.
Go for a walk. It's
in the morning, like when the sun's coming up.
Beautiful times of the day.
It's like the
absolutely.
Quietest time that you can like enjoy the beauty of it all. I think one of those quiet moments.
Even if it's a 5 to 10 minute walk, it's something so different that we don't do here in America, that living in Europe for a year and a half was so cool to me. Like, everywhere I went, I don't know if it was the same for you, but everywhere I went, I walked.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Okay.
I didn't have a car for a year and a half, and that was awesome for me.
That's a year and a half of no car. Oh.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
No bike, just walking.
I did have a friend lend me his bike for like a summer, because he was away, so I was taking care of it for him. But I was working with another buddy of mine all summer long, so I would ride from where I was staying to his apartment, and that ride was awesome too.
Yeah,
that bike ride was awesome.
Appreciate those moments. I feel like a good tip for people if they're trying to figure it out, You could do like a photography walk, like use your phone and like take photos of like moments you see.
That's cool.
Eventually maybe you want to let go of the phone, but like it's a good way to start, like just looking around you and just observing like what is there like in this world that we're not noticing all the time.
Nature, unfortunately, for a lot of people.
Yeah, that is true.
And like going to Sequoia for me, I used to be a real beach bum. I still love the beach, but I don't find that the beach calls to me.
It's the woods now.
It's the forest now.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's the mountains now.
You switched.
Yeah, that call to me.
Do you think it has something to do with just like the trees themselves and how they evoke silence?
I think so.
That's cool.
I think so. I think there's way more silence.
Because like I think the ocean is like loud, you know. You've got like the crashing of the waves. Sometimes there's people.
And it's generally people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really can't.
Even when you find like a quiet area, someone else is gonna find it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big reason why.
Yeah, most people are
I'm more drawn there.
Scared of trees. Have you noticed that?
Really?
I feel like I've met people who like they would love to go to the beach more than go hiking. Like they get scared of the idea of hiking. They're like, I don't want to get tired, and I'm like, but it's nice. You go walking, you experience nature a little bit, but they're like, no, I'm gonna get dirty or I might get bit by some animals. Like, I don't know. Some people get really scared. So I've noticed there's sometimes you have to convince people like, oh, let's go hiking. But other times, if you're lucky, you'll find a few people who are like, yeah, let's just go. Like, I don't care if I'm out of shape. I'll go for a walk.
Yeah. And it's a simple walk is a great exercise.
Yeah, it really is.
Because we don't do it as much. I mean, relative to Europe, at least for me, when I was in Florence, everywhere I walked, and I loved that. I had to go grocery shopping. I walked. I needed to go to the main center to go pick up some things. I walked.
And you're like in shape without trying it at that point, because you're just doing what we've always done up until like modern times.
Absolutely, that's it. Yeah. In a way, we're getting back to our roots of being humans, like every other animal out there. We just use our legs to get from point A to point B, and it's separating yourself from the city and going to a place like Sequoia or the forest or anywhere that's a hiking spot.
If you're like in the LA area, like I found like Vasquez Rocks is pretty neat area to walk around. Take those like horse trails. You see some water and stuff like that in there. You don't think that's that when you drive by in the freeway, but when you're in there, you're like, whoa, there's like a whole other ecosystem right here.
Yeah. It's very cool, and it may be a little bit more work. Someone living in the city deep in LA, let's say Hollywood and all the, around there, but it's worth the drive to go someplace and be in nature. Even if you're not into meditating or you feel like you can't conquer that obstacle of silencing the mind, there's walking meditations.
Yeah, you can walk. If you can't get out of the city, if you know there's an area with like a bike path or just even
good point,
you can walk around the park. Just go for a walk. Like just be under some trees. Maybe hear some squirrels chattering. Honestly, that always takes me into like the I'm in nature kind of mindset. When you can hear the animals, you're like, oh, this is cool.
It really is, because it's so out of the norm. Like for us that live in the cities, it's so out of the norm. Getting out there is awesome. So for me now, being out in like a forested area calls to me more than the beach. Though I love the beach still, but I enjoy more being, and maybe it's because like I know I'm going somewhere where I'm going to be by myself.
Maybe it might be an added part to it.
I'm just like, I make the effort to be by myself, and I really enjoy that. I really do.
Yeah, I've just noticed we're talking about meditation, and the tiger you're drawing has got these really intense eyes. Just like, yes, do it.
So, this for me, like I wanted to. Like I like working big, and I haven't done anything this big, referring to the art video now.
How big is it?
This is a sheet that's 18 by 24.
Okay, that's a nice size. I like that size.
And I just like I wanted to express this this affinity for the tiger, the way the tigers live. I love watching documentaries on nature in general, but the wild cats, the big cats, lions, tigers, jaguars.
Yeah.
Do you know why big cats are considered big cats? There's only three.
I don't know.
So the three big cats are lions, tigers, jaguars, and so jaguar is the same as a leopard,
Yeah.
but the jaguars are from Americas and leopards are from Africa.
It's the same animal though.
But it's the same animal.
Yeah.
They're considered big cats, the only big cats, because they're the only ones that have the ability to roar.
Oh, I mean.
So cheetahs don't. Cheetahs can't
don't
roar.
roar?
No.
What? I always thought
No.
they. Oh, wow. Okay. That's,
Like lynx,
I know lynx
bobcats.
Bobcats.
They don't roar.
That's
They
interesting.
can't roar. Interesting, huh?
That's very. I didn't even consider that.
I didn't know this
Yeah.
until a couple months ago, where I was like watching and I came across that that fact of why these cats are considered. Whenever somebody says big cats, they're referring to those either three.
The ones that
the
can
lions,
roar.
the tigers, yes, the ones that have the ability to roar, and it's a biological thing,
Is it
right?
because
Their
they're
biology.
they're just bigger, right? So maybe they.
It has
vocals?
the jaguar is not necessarily as big as lions or tigers, but it has something to do with their vocal cords. Yeah, it has something to do with the ability to muster that sound.
That's really
out of their
interesting.
anatomy. So very cool. But excuse the helicopter.
America's finest, everybody.
Yeah, or paparazzi.
Oh, paparazzi. They're looking for you. You're getting famous.
Already.
There you go.
But so I wanted to do this tiger, and speaking of tigers, so today I mentioned to you that I did my first watercolor artwork, and it happened to be a tiger, very abstract, very flash tattoo style, neo-traditional, and in my mind, I feel like there's a Rolodex, and I'm like, I guess maybe it's a form of meditation, or where I draw ideas from. I see a Rolodex in my mind, and it's spinning, and then I tell it to stop, and I try to see what that image is in that Rolodex of my mind, and then it continues. But I only get a flash.
Okay.
So that's how a lot of my ideas come. I just sit down and I'm just like spin, stop, and then I try to see what is that.
That's
what
really
did I just
cool.
see? I don't know if I'm making stuff up.
I think maybe what's going on is since you've practiced mindful meditation for so long, you're just able to like maybe manipulate your imagination to do this. Your visual eye to just like spit, and then you're like this one.
I think that I think I've landed on that conclusion myself.
Yeah.
Is that I'm forcing an image to come out. Not that there's something there, but I have the expectation that there is something there. So my mind is like filling in that void, like here.
It's just like, here's an idea, go.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's something from the subconscious mind, but I've seen so many documentaries on art, and I've seen so many pieces of art, and I've studied so many pieces of art, and I look at so much art from comic books, from history. There's so much in my mind.
Your visual eye is just like, all right, I've got all this information for you. Like, what do you want to do with it?
And I have that expectation of my subconscious mind, and I'm like, give it to me. Like, show me the next one. Show me the next one. Show me the next one. So when I do that little exercise, that Rolodex, stop, bam, something popped up, and I was like, many things happen. I'm in the shower, and I'm like, okay, do the Rolodex thing. Rolodex, stop. And then this image came to me, which is the artwork that I finished today.
That's really cool.
And I do that a lot. I'm like, okay, what's next? I suppose when I feel like I'm at a block or something like that, although I already kind of have lined up, like 3 ideas already that I'm working on.
Your sketches on the drawing board.
Yeah, I do.
You're like, that's my 1, 2, 3, and then after that, I'll
do some more. But I'm like, I want more. I want
Yeah.
more. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. So I think I'm forcing my subconscious mind to produce these ideas to me, that even if it's a glimpse and it's a blurry glimpse of something, I'll fill in the gap myself consciously.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. I'll manipulate this, and I'm gonna do that. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna do a figure. I'm gonna do a female. I'm gonna do a little dog. I'm gonna do whatever. These ideas are just coming out because I'm like forcing them out of myself, you know.
I mean, that's good. I think I mean, most people should try to do that. That's a pretty like cool way to like practice like your own like I guess just testing out like what you're able to make, because you're like under pressure and you're like boom.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I put myself under pressure. Like,
Yeah.
I'm demanding of my subconscious mind, like, give me my next image.
Instead
give me
of
my
like
next image.
instead of sitting there for like 2 hours on like a drawing board, maybe just like doodling, trying to figure out what something you could do something. You're like, okay, I'm gonna do all that, but I'm gonna do it in like 2 seconds in my head. Let's go.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and in part, one idea was I want to do this tiger, and I want to do it big. I want to do it just because I enjoy like really getting my arm moving, you know, rather than just, you know, working on a small.
There's something very nice about being able to just let your whole shoulder work with what you're doing.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah, because when you draw small, it's like super, you feel scrunched up, but when you get the opportunity to go big, I feel like maybe even your own subconscious is able to let go and let your own like creative process just take over in a different way.
Yeah, could be.
Like your body connects more with what you're making.
Yes,
that's what
I
I would
feel
say.
that. I feel that. I
Like,
like
more,
feeling the engagement of the
there's
body.
more energy involved. There's things that you can't do when you work big, that you do when you're working small.
I agree.
I always encourage people, like I see people, tiny little sketchbooks. I have one right now, but I'm using it as a journal. That's different. But I see them try to draw like something big on something small, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, but like get out of that scrunchiness. Like you have to just break free and just go for it, and like let yourself be fluid. And like I really like this tiger drawing. There's
cool.
I see that fluidity in there because it's just so big. Are you using like Sumi ink or
India ink?
India ink.
And this whole, like, regardless of how big something is, I think you always end up doing details anyway, right?
That's
you
true.
you always end up doing details, and that's generally a small flicks of lines or shapes.
I like how you drew the outline in pencil underneath, right?
Yes.
And I see the flow of like where you outlined some of the tree right there.
Yes.
But like you can see like your arm is just like, yes, let's just go for it.
Exactly. And that's, I love that. I love that feel of like my body was involved in making that mark, not just my arm, not just my hand, you know, not just flicking my wrist. And it's really enjoyable. And today, exploring with watercolor, I had not used watercolor before. I kind of got a little sensation of it because I wasn't necessarily drawing. You know, it's not like with a marker or with a brush really that I'm like making a specific line. I was just moving the water this way, moving the water, like you said, the little puddles, right? I'm just moving the puddle this way, moving the puddle that way. But if I want one area to have more chroma, then I just add a little bit more ink there, and then just pull it away to give it that fading effect. And I really enjoyed that.
It's peaceful. It's I think you're really gonna love it more because it goes back to that meditative kind of process and just like that stillness. And you have to also know when to just let it be. So I found myself a lot when I was learning how to use it. It was such a struggle because I was used to oil, so I was like, oh, I need to go and keep manipulating it, but then you'd overwork it. So there's this very fine line of you got maybe 2 or 3 brush strokes on the paper that you can do on a specific spot at a time.
Yeah.
Before the paper gives up.
Yeah.
So you have to also know when to like, okay, I'm gonna manipulate it, and then I'm gonna have to walk away at some point, and I can't come back, and it is what it is. And then you go back, maybe do a second layer, and you're like, okay, well this kind of worked out, and you just add details.
You know what I think is kind of a relief is that I feel like as I was working with this watercolor, I'm like, you know, if I don't like the results of it, I'm gonna go over with oils.
Yeah. That's perfectly fine.
I'm like,
That's
so I think
yeah.
like I don't have a fear of messing up.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'm pretty sure I could render this with oils anyway.
Yeah.
But I really want to have the watercolor effect.
Yeah, what I've learned, I started doing this in the middle of the summer last year, is I'll use watercolor pencils to sketch out the drawing now.
Okay, cool.
Because I used to just draw it on like on the canvas or on the paper with like whatever I was using. But I was trying to get back into oils, and I was like, well, I'm using like water soluble oils. So like, what if or water mixable oils, what it's called.
Yeah.
I can probably just do it with like watercolor underneath and then go on top. And
Okay.
like there's some areas where I've left like sometimes exposed, and you see the watercolor underneath the oil because of translucency. It's kind of cool. Like
That's cool.
it's very fun. Like like I said, like you can just combine the mediums, and the way that they work, it's so like a thin layer of oil works similar to like a water. So it's just very weird sometimes to see how they interact.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
These water soluble oils how long do they take to dry?
It's a little faster. I would say I use them kind of thin though when I do, so it's about maybe like 2 days.
Can you use alcohol with them? Do you know?
I haven't tried, but I know they're mixed. They're like, it's oil paint that has been like mixed up with a type of soap, so it's more broken down. So you can use water to like, instead of like Gamsol, you can use water. So.
But you could still use Gamsol.
Yeah, you can still use Gamsol.
Okay.
And just the more Gamsol you use, or if you start mixing it with regular oils, it'll start getting harder to manipulate with water. So you'll have to come back with just the thinner in the end.
Sure.
But it's something fun to try out. I would say it's really cool that you're like thinking like, if I mess up, it's fine, and that's like very healthy. I think we all need to start doing that more. I know that was my problem when I first started doing watercolor, was like I was lacking that. So that's why it's such a struggle. But once I finally got to the point where I was like, it's just paper, it's okay. And I was to start working on like cheaper paper so I would feel less pressure.
Yeah.
Because some people get scared of like, oh, the material's expensive.
Yeah.
But just find something cheap, or one good way to do it. Like I painted on that canvas, so you can always just re-gesso a canvas. And it'll still absorb the pigment. It's a good way to practice if anyone out there is not comfortable with trying to master watercolor and doesn't want to waste paper. I would say just get a canvas, keep gessoing over the drawings, and keep practicing.
Yeah, that's you would have to get used to not being sentimental about your artwork. Or just take a photo of it and keep it on a memory card or something.
It keeps living on in a digital format.
Sure.
I think that's perfectly fine. Like, yeah.
But that's very a very thrifty thing to do, is to gesso, and I've done it myself. I've I had this gesso board that I've painted. That's literally was my like sketchbook.
Yeah.
Just that one gesso board was my that thing is thick now.
Oh, whoa.
It's thick.
I wonder what would happen if you like sanded out areas of it.
You know what I have seen before is an artist laid down like thick layers of acrylic. I think it was on a wooden board, and it was maybe like a half-inch thick.
Oh,
I mean, crazy thick. And then each layer was a specific color, and then he would go in with a carving tool, and he would carve, and it would come out like if you carve out like the shape of a U, let's say, right? If you start carving into it, you can see the rings of the layers underneath.
That's cool.
And what he was doing like patterns. So it in a way it kind of looked like embroidery, because he was just doing the same, right? Just repeating the pattern.
He was just repeating the pattern and showing the wood's history, the piece history, like.
Well, it wasn't the wood.
Okay.
But it's like that,
like the
because
layers.
it's all the layers of paint.
Yeah.
So there was blue, white, pink, yellow, orange, red. If he carves into it, you see the blue, white, pink, orange, yellow, red, as a carve.
And he was like drawing like as he was carving.
He was just, but just like geometric shapes.
Oh, okay, that's
again,
cool.
so they kind of look like tiles.
That sounds beautiful.
It was really interesting, really interesting. And he just had like all these carvings, right? Like all these like shavings, just laying down everywhere, because he was just basically like a woodcut.
Okay.
But he was cutting the layers of paint.
That's really cool.
It was really interesting. I don't recall the name of the artist, but it reminded me of that. And again, you can you can continue to gesso that. If I were to do that to my art, you would see like the layers of color that are underneath the layers of gesso.
That's
So
fun.
gesso and color,
Yeah.
gesso color, gesso color, and but it's and for me, I really like texturing a surface so that it feels like a wall.
Yeah.
I just really like that surface. I haven't done it much lately because I've been trying different mediums and I've been doing it on paper and stuff, most recently. But when I do my oils, the still lives that I've done, I really like the texture because it's really a unique piece. It's almost like nobody could copy that.
Yeah.
There's no way you could copy
Yeah,
that texture.
You can't, like, it's so different to see an image with the texture than to like
Yes.
create the texture. You can never like forge it out of like just the
Absolutely.
picture. Like you have to physically be with the
Exactly.
piece. You have to be able to examine it and just
Yes.
and know the process too.
Yes.
It's one of those things like
And that's what I enjoyed about making that my own. Like the still lives that I've done, they all have that texture on them. And in person it's just a different, like it almost looks like just like a laser print or something.
Yeah.
But it's in oils.
Oh, looks like we're almost out of time.
Yeah, coming up. But this whole artwork I'm finishing up in ink, and it's all gonna be ink. I didn't start the watercolor stuff until this week.
I mean, it's beautiful. I can't wait to see the finished product.
Thanks. It's fun. I feel like this is my first time doing this like that. In the finished piece, I make the eyes smaller, and I feel like the neck was a little bit too exaggerated down low, but it works well in the composition.
It does.
For it being a cartoony thing, right? I'm not trying to render realism. I just wanted to do this out of my imagination.
You just want to have fun, and that's always important.
And I wanted to see how can I render these stripes, especially on the face, just in black and white.
I think you did a really good job at that.
I think it came out cool. It came out interesting the least. But
yeah, I mean, when you were watching the first part of the video, we were seeing you do that part, I was like, oh, that's really cool how he's approaching that. Yeah.
And a lot of this is from comic book inspiration. This here, the tree itself, the inspiration was from the artist Sam Keith. For those that know Sam Keith from The Max, MAXX, that's his character. It was an MTV cartoon as well, but that was his comic, his creation. He would do this a lot, where the foliage would be like real dramatic lighting, but all black and white, at least in like before the color layers come on, and it looks really, really cool. But a lot of this stuff comes from his inspiration was Frank Frazetta. I don't know if you're familiar with Frank Frazetta, but amazing artist in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. But most of his prolific work was done, I believe, like in the 70s. Conan the Barbarian, he would do all these amazing like figures, and they look like very natural, but in action, in motion. And he had a bunch of really cool looking cats, whether they were like made up saber-toothed tigers or whatever. This dude knew it. His anatomy was amazing.
That's awesome.
Really amazing artist, Frank Frazetta.
Frank Frazetta. I will definitely look him up. When you mentioned like Conan the Barbarian, I'm like seeing flashes of images in my head.
Cool.
So I'm like, okay, I think I know what he's talking about. I just have to like look it up again.
Cool.
Like, it's really cool.
Alrighty. Well, here we are. We're like, well, what are we going to talk about today? And now we're out of time.
We just talked about meditation.
Which is fantastic. I'm sure that someone is going to find this useful.
Yes, definitely try it out. It's one of those things that will feed your creativity and like yourself as a person. Like, I feel like some of my own like development in my early 20s really came from being able to do that. Even
good for you.
It started out as a class assignment, but like it was something
fantastic.
It was a good class assignment.
I think meditation should be in every high school. 5 minutes. Give every high school kid 5 minutes.
Everywhere.
Shut your eyes and imagine yourself in a beautiful place. Watch the world change. But that's just my
I think that's a good idea.
Funky fantasies.
I feel like it may be like in kindergarten, you know, nap time.
It should not stop. Yeah, nap time should not stop.
It should be forever. Nap time is so important. So if you can't nap, meditate.
That's it.
Yeah.
Very well said. Cool. Well, to the audience, thank you for hanging out. If you enjoyed the video and you want to show some love, the best way to do so is to pick up some merch, get yourself a t-shirt, a hoodie, or some stickers. A link to the shop will be in the description below. If you would like to contact me for a commission, you could do so through Instagram or email. And lastly, feel free to share the video and spread the word about the channel. I greatly appreciate the support in helping the channel grow. And Cynthia, would you like to say anything in closing?
I guess maybe I'd just like to say, keep making art, everybody. Have fun. Like, don't put too much pressure on yourselves. At the end of the day, we're all just trying to be people and enjoy life. So enjoy life, you know, get to know yourself.
Awesome. Any news or updates for MOAH Cedar?
We have our new exhibit. When this comes out, it'll probably be our high school show. So go check it out and support local high school students and their art ventures. We would really appreciate that. And if you guys are local to the LA area, please apply to our juried exhibition. Our applications will open in the middle of April. And we'll post about that on our Instagram. That'll be at MOAH Cedar. So check that out and submit art. You have a really good chance of getting in if you just live in this area. But it's an outside jury, and we just love to see everyone's work, and we really hope that it'll be a great show this year.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again for taking the time to hang out.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
I really enjoyed talking and seeing this beautiful tiger being created.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll let the paparazzi fly by one more time.
He's right here, everybody.
Cool. Well, to everyone out there in this amazing spiral, truly amazing spiral, take care, enjoy life, and be kind.